Okay, what if that incredibly vivid dream you had last night wasn't just your subconscious sorting through the day's events? What if it was something far more weird? Like maybe a peek into another version of your life. A genuine memory from a you living in a parallel universe right now. Welcome to the cool, weird, and possible. Today we're taking a deep dive into the really curious connections between dreams, consciousness, and, yeah, the multiverse. We're pulling from some pretty unexpected corners to explore possibilities that might just make you question, well, everything.
It's definitely a journey. We're merging, ancient wisdom with some pretty cutting-edge scientific ideas. It really challenges our basic understanding of reality itself.
Absolutely. So let's start right at the beginning. What are dreams, really? Because for ages, long before neuroscience, different cultures and philosophies, they suggested dreams were much more than just random brain sparks. They were seen as like portals, direct portals to other realms.
That's exactly right. If you look at religious and spiritual traditions, this idea of dreams holding significant messages, it's almost everywhere. Take Prophet Muhammad's early dreams, for instance. They actually came before the divine revelations he received. And in Hinduism, especially in the deeper philosophical texts, life itself is sometimes viewed as a kind of dream. They even encouraged practices for conscious dreaming.
Conscious dreaming, wow.
Yeah. And think about ancient Greek thinkers like Plato and Zeno. They weren't just thinking about working life. They saw dreams as both a bridge, connecting different worlds, and also like a mirror reflecting the soul's true state.
It's amazing how consistent that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Across thousands of years, different cultures, people seeing dreams not just as random junk, but as profound messages. Like our ancestors somehow knew there was more going on. Can you give us some more specific examples from the actual texts?
Sure. In Christianity, you've got that really vivid story in the book of Acts. Paul sees a vision in the night, a man from Macedonia basically begging for help, and that dream directly leads him to travel there. In Judaism, the Hebrew Bible clearly states God reveals himself to prophets in visions and crucially speaks to them in dreams. And Islam has this profound statement from Prophet Muhammad himself. He said that seeing him in a dream is seeing the truth because Satan can't take his form.
So it's not just a Western or Middle Eastern thing either. This idea seems global.
Totally global. Look at the Hindu saint Sri Ramakrishna. He taught that all names and forms are kind of illusory, like a dream state, pointing to a deeper reality underneath. Buddhism, through the Dalai Lama, suggests that accessing past life memories and dreams can help you recall them when you're awake. And then, maybe the most famous one from Taoism, Chuangtzu's butterfly dream.
Oh yeah, the butterfly guy.
Right. He wakes up after dreaming he's a butterfly and asks that classic question. Was I Chuangtzu dreaming I was a butterfly, or am I now a butterfly dreaming I'm Chuangtzu?
Oh!
Just completely messes with your idea of what's real.
Wow. Yeah, that is a proper mind bender. Makes you wonder if maybe this, our waking life, is just another dream state. Makes that morning coffee feel a little less solid. And these ancient ideas about the soul maybe traveling during dreams,
Yeah.
that sounds a lot like what people now call out-of-body experiences, or OBEs, which some interpret as like astral projection.
Yes, exactly. Astral projection is this esoteric idea that your consciousness or maybe a subtle body can leave your physical body. And stories about this, they're woven into so many cultures. For example, some Inuit groups talk about their shamans, the Ungakuk, who could supposedly travel to distant, even mythological places in this subtle body. They'd come back with information, maybe influence hunts or heal people.
Wow.
In Hindu traditions, you find similar concepts like the Ligashirya, a subtle body that can separate. The famous guru Paramahansa Yogananda even wrote about witnessing his own master, Swami Pranabhananda, apparently appear and vanish in what he thought might be astral projection.
And this wasn't just ancient stuff for indigenous cultures, right? It popped up in Western thinking, too.
It did. In Judaic and Christian mysticism, you find the idea of a subtle body linked to the physical one by a psychic silver cord. That image is often linked metaphorically to a verse in Ecclesiastes, and certain interpretations of passages like 2 Corinthians 12.2 see them as referring to experiences on these astral planes.
Okay.
Then, much more recently, you had Robert Monroe. He really popularized the term OBE with his books detailing his own journeys to other realms. He even started an institute to study it. And people like Carlos Castaneda, through his student Florinda Donner, wrote about something called the double and ways to access the dream world using this non-physical self.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. What if you could actually choose what happens in your dreams? Like, take control of the story. That leads us right into lucid dreaming, doesn't it?
Precisely. Lucid dreaming is exactly that. Becoming aware that you're dreaming while you're in the dream. And from that point, you can often gain some level of control over what's happening. Research, like the dream diary studies done by Kellogg, helped categorize different levels. It goes from being pre-lucid, where you notice something's odd but don't quite click that it's a dream, all the way up to super lucid, meaning almost complete control and very high awareness inside the dream.
So it's not just random luck for some people.
Yeah.
People actually try to make this happen. That sounds like something out of, I don't know, Inception.
Oh, they absolutely do. There are several well-known techniques. One's called mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, or MILD.
Yeah.
That involves setting a clear intention to become lucid right before you fall asleep. A simpler one is the reality test. You get in the habit of asking yourself, am I dreaming, throughout the day.
How does that work?
The hope is the habit carries over into your dreams. You might try to push your finger through your other palm or look at a clock twice in dreams. Physics is wonky, so your finger might go through, or the time might be totally different the second time you look. Then there's the wake back to bed method. You wake up after a few hours, stay up for a bit, then go back to sleep focused on having a lucid dream.
Does combining them help?
Yeah, combine techniques like those Paul Foley developed mixing reality tests, remembering dreams, and that mild intention setting seem quite effective. One study reported something like 83% of participants having lucid dreams over 3 months using a combined approach.
83%.
Yeah.
That's surprisingly high. But is there a scientific reason for this? Like, what's actually happening in the brain when someone's lucid dreaming?
There is, and it's pretty fascinating. Neuroimaging studies, using things like fMRI and EEG, show clear changes in brain activity during lucid REM sleep. You see more activation in specific areas, particularly the bilateral precuneus and parietal lobules. These spots are linked to self-awareness, attention, that kind of thing. Plus, there's this spike in 40 hertz frequency activity that's a brainwave pattern associated with active conscious thought, especially in the frontal regions. It looks a lot more like brain activity during waking states.
So the brain is more awake in a way.
In certain key ways, yes. It suggests a higher level of conscious processing is definitely happening. And get this, researchers have even managed to induce lucid dreaming. They use something called transcranial direct current stimulation, TDCS, applied to the frontal region. In one study, a significant number, I think it was 77.5%, reported lucid experiences after the stimulation.
Okay, stimulating lucid dreams. Here's where it gets really interesting for me. If we can consciously influence our dreams and our brains show activity, like when we're awake, could dreams be more than just our own brain talking to itself? Could we, maybe, be tapping into or even receiving information from outside?
That's the exact question that led to a lot of research, some of it quite hush-hush, into what's called dream ESP, extrasensory perception. Sounds like sci-fi, I know, but studies on this actually started back in the 1960s. It was mostly driven by all these reports from just regular people dreaming about things, true things that they couldn't possibly have known through normal ways.
Wait, so this wasn't just like anecdotes. There was actual structured research.
Oh, yeah. A really famous effort was at the Maimonides Medical Center's Dream Lab in Brooklyn, New York. It was founded by Montague Allman, and Stanley Krupner directed it. Their work was noted for trying to bring scientific rigor to these, well, unusual topics. They ran experiments where someone would send a randomly chosen image to a sleeping participant trying to influence their dreams.
And did it work?
A big analysis looking at 50 years of dream studies, from 66 to 2016, concluded that, yeah, dream content could be used to correctly identify target images more often than pure chance would predict. And it wasn't just them. Some Chinese researchers, supposedly interested in exceptional human functions for things like communicating in space, they reported success rates over 80% in their own ESP experiments.
20%. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I heard something about the CIA.
Uh-huh. Declassified CIA documents mention a technique from the 1980s. Lucid dreamers wearing masks with sensors could actually signal to researchers in the waking world that they knew they were dreaming. They'd use prearranged eye movements, like looking left, right, which the sensors would pick up.
A CIA connection.
Okay.
Now our conspiracy lovers are leaning in. What are the implications of all this then? If any of it's real, it changes everything.
Yeah. Well, the Maimonides researchers themselves pointed out that their findings went beyond just science. They felt it kind of liberated people, made it okay to talk about psychic experiences or really strange dreams without automatically being dismissed as, mentally unwell. It offered a potential way to understand these things that seemed to defy normal explanation.
So, okay, if dreams are this complex, maybe even involving outside info, what does this all mean for reality itself?
Right. And this is where classical physics starts to look a bit inadequate for explaining dreams. In our everyday waking life, classical physics gives us linear time, fixed locations, predictable cause and effect. Simple enough. But in dreams, those rules just fall apart, don't they? Dream time gets all warped. Past and future can feel simultaneous. Space becomes totally fluid. You can be in your childhood home 1 second and instantly somewhere completely unknown the next with no travel time. Classical physics just doesn't have a box for that.
That sounds exactly like my dreams sometimes, like reality's rulebook gets thrown out. Could quantum physics offer a better fit for this weird dream reality?
A lot of physicists and consciousness researchers think it might. Quantum mechanics has these bizarre but proven concepts like superposition.
Where something can be in multiple places or states at once.
Exactly. And entanglement, where two particles stay connected, instantly influencing each other no matter how far apart they are. These ideas offer a pretty compelling model for dream time as maybe a multidimensional reality. Dreams could be like quantum superpositions, where multiple realities, memories, possibilities are all layered on top of each other.
That sounds like Hugh Everett's many worlds theory.
It absolutely echoes it. Everett's idea that every choice or quantum event splits reality into multiple branches, multiple universes coexisting. If that's the case, maybe those accelerated states of consciousness in dreams let our minds perceive these other realities, these other branches. It could even make prophetic dreams seem less mystical and more like, well, picking up signals from a probable future timeline within this quantum framework.
Mind blown, linking tiny quantum effects to our big, messy dreams.
Oh.
And I've also heard about biocentrism. How does that fit in? Isn't that the idea that consciousness creates reality?
That's Robert Lanza's theory, yes. Biocentrism turns everything on its head. It basically says life and consciousness aren't just accidents in the universe, they are fundamental to its existence. Things we take for granted, like Einstein's space-time, Lanza argues they're just concepts created by our consciousness. Without an observer, they don't really exist in that form. From that viewpoint, dreaming isn't just some secondary thing, it's every bit as real as living. It could literally mean that when we dream, we're stepping into a parallel universe, or at least a fundamentally different layer of reality shaped by consciousness.
Okay, so if consciousness is fundamental, and maybe there are these parallel realities,
Mm-hmm.
could a version of you in another reality be trying to talk to you right now?
Yeah.
Sending signs. I mean, that's the ultimate conspiracy theory, right? Our own selves chatting across the multiverse.
The theory suggests precisely that, yeah. And this connection isn't just weird. It's seen as a potential path to deeper self-understanding, even spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And there are signs people point to. Déjà vu is a big one.
That feeling you've lived this exact moment before.
Exactly. The interpretation is you might be getting a flash, a bleed-through, from an experience a parallel version of you has already had. Then there are synchronicities, those weirdly meaningful coincidences. Like, say you're thinking hard about changing careers, and suddenly you keep seeing a specific word or symbol everywhere, ads, conversations, street signs. The idea is it could be a nudge from a parallel you who already made that change.
Okay, what else should we be looking out for? Because I'm suddenly analyzing everything that happened today.
Well, dreams themselves, obviously. Especially those super vivid ones that feel intensely real and stick with you. They might be actual memories or experiences filtering through from another version of yourself. Dreaming of a different life that feels strangely familiar. That could be it. And lucid dreaming, then, becomes a potential tool to consciously explore these other versions, maybe even interact.
Right, actively exploring.
Another sign is that weird feeling of being out of place, just suddenly feeling disconnected, like reality is a bit off. It could indicate overlapping realities, your consciousness may be shifting between frequencies. And finally, strong intuition, that gut feeling pushing you towards a decision. Or suddenly picking up a new habit you can't explain. Could be influence from a parallel self trying to guide you.
It's hardly surprising these ideas are all over pop culture then. You see people on Reddit talking about Doctor Strange, multiverse of madness, and connecting it to quantum entanglement in dreams. And some people look at things like the Google quantum chip and speculate, though it's definitely not proven science, that maybe its weird computing methods are tapping into other quantum realities.
Exactly. And it's not just online chatter or movies. We've even seen public figures like Representative Luna recently making claims about lawmakers having evidence of, quote, interdimensional beings operating in our space-time. Now, obviously, those kinds of claims face huge debate and scrutiny, politically and scientifically. We're not endorsing them, just noting they're part of the conversation now. It shows how these once fringe ideas are really entering the mainstream discussion, even if people interpret them very differently.
Which absolutely brings us to the skepticism.
Hmm.
Because let's be honest, this sounds pretty wild, and a lot of scientists would push back hard.
Oh, absolutely. And rightly so, from their perspective. Many scientists, like John Horgan, for instance, criticize multiverse theories as being basically escapist pseudoscience.
Hmm.
The main argument is they're often unfalsifiable, meaning there's no real experiment we can do right now to definitively prove or disprove them. And they argue this focus distracts from solving tangible, real-world problems. Plus, there's the massive hurdle of the hard problem of consciousness for standard physicalist theories.
Remind us what that is again.
It's the fundamental mystery. How does purely physical stuff like neurons firing in the brain give rise to subjective qualitative experience? You know, the actual feeling of seeing red or tasting chocolate or being in love. How does matter create inner experience? Conventional science, which assumes consciousness is only brain activity, really struggles to bridge that gap.
But then you have these really weird phenomena, these actual reported events that seem to fly in the face of consciousness just being brain activity, these disturbing phenomena, as some call them.
Indeed. And they are hard to ignore. Think about near-death experiences, NDEs. People report incredibly detailed, coherent perceptions, sometimes verified later during periods like cardiac arrest, when brain activity should be minimal or totally shut down. Then you have documented cases of terminal lucidity.
What's that?
It's when patients with severe end-stage brain damage, maybe from Alzheimer's or tumors, even a case of a 3-year-old girl with a devastating immune disorder affecting her brain, suddenly become completely clear-headed. They have lucid conversations, recognize family, seem totally themselves right before they pass away. How does a massively damaged brain suddenly function perfectly? It's deeply puzzling for the standard model.
And what about people with those incredible, almost unbelievable abilities?
Savantism is another fascinating area. Kim Peek, the real person Rain Man was based on, could memorize thousands of books word for word, despite having major brain structure abnormalities. Some researchers suggest this points to maybe a porosity in the usual boundaries of the self, allowing access to a wider field of information or consciousness. Then there are phenomena suggesting consciousness persists after bodily end. Spontaneous after-death communications, or ADCs.
People seeing or hearing loved ones who've passed.
Yes, unexpectedly perceiving them, sometimes getting information they didn't previously know, like details about a hidden will or something, or those meticulously documented reincarnation cases, especially involving children who recall startlingly specific details of a previous life. Sometimes these kids even have birthmarks that correspond precisely to fatal wounds documented on the person they claim to have been.
So all these anomalies,
Yeah.
they really do suggest that consciousness isn't just locked inside our skulls, right? Not limited by the body or normal space and time. It's almost like the brain is more of a receiver or a filter, not the generator.
That's the implication many researchers are drawing, yes. You also have experimental evidence, albeit controversial, for things like precognition physiological responses, predicting random future events slightly before they happen. And psychokinesis mind seemingly influencing physical systems, like random number generators, just a tiny bit more than chance allows. All these things are like little clouds on the horizon, as physicists used to say about anomalies that eventually lead to new theories. They strongly suggest we need a pretty radical change in perspective to understand consciousness. Maybe it is quantum or hyperdimensional, or maybe, as some Eastern philosophies and biocentrism suggest, it's the fundamental thing, all there is, and the physical world emerges from it. It forces us to consider that reality might be far, far stranger and more interconnected than we usually assume.
Well, okay. So whether it's memories filtering through from a parallel you or maybe glimpses of the future, or even tapping into some kind of universal wisdom, the world of dreams is certainly looking like a lot more than just random neurons firing off. And if your dreams truly are echoes from other versions of yourself, maybe living out different choices, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What kind of life is your parallel self living right now? And what could you maybe learn from them about your own path? Thank you for taking this seriously deep dive with us today. If this whole exploration resonated with you, maybe sparked some weird thoughts, we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe to our channel. Take care, sleep well, and maybe pay a little closer attention to those dreams. See you next time.